Hello comic fans, here's Earl Grey. Today I want to talk once more about European science fiction comics and once more about books from the German publisher Splitter. And there's really one comic from Germany by German comic creators, amongst them Indigo. And we have a book called The Aquanauts that was translated from French. And Storm, the old Don Lawrence's brilliant sci-fi saga, one of my favorite European comics in terms of sci-fi at least. And this was translated from English or maybe Dutch, if you will, because for the most part with Martin Lodewijk and so on, it was an English-Dutch cooperation. These are pretty important books in the run of the long-lasting run of Storm. This one here, the Deep World or the Low World, the Lowlands, however, was the first real Storm book, and or actually the first Storm book, and number 10 started the Chronicles from Pandavi. So. These are obviously not new additions to my collection, but I have them just for size comparison purposes, because the last craze to get the money out of the pocket of the fan are these diamant editions. So they are called by Splitter. I don't know how they're called in France, but obviously this is some kind of trend that was started over there in France or Belgium. So we have some success titles that are published in this really huge format. I mean, this is European album size format. Just to give you an example, this is the American comic book format. So you have an impression how big this book is here. And since not the least important part of the Storm adventures are is the art of by Don Lawrence, so it's great to have this kind of art in oversized with a new cover here. It's just wonderful. This is the actual cover of what I've shown you before. So, and now we have all this beautiful, mind-boggling stuff here. The art of Don Lawrence in this huge oversize. And this is such a treat. These books are fairly limited. I guess around 400 copies or so were printed, or 450. Don't call me on that. But it's really a limited print run, so I even would suggest, if you have had the chance to get the normal European album-sized formatted Storm in your language, maybe you can or you will order this book here in French or in even in German. Even if you don't speak the language. I mean, you can always put the book with your language aside of this beauty here and get yourself a glass of wine and just enjoy the stuff here. I mean, this is the time when he discovered, or our heroes here discover, the very special planet of Pandavi, in which the sky is some kind of ocean with whale hunters, and this planet system of Pandavi is pretty special. So you can travel from one planet to the other in these kind of a bit steampunkish ships. So Storm is always a bit swords and sorcery in the future, and with high tech, but Vikings and pirates at the same time. So, and this was played out to full effect in this book here, which is one of my favorites. I mean, it's hard to pinpoint to exactly one Storm album and to say this is my favorite, but they haven't done a bad choice in choosing this one here to print this in oversized. I hardly believe that they do this. They publish each and every Storm album in this fashion, but maybe some more of these won't be too bad. I mean, not for my wallet, but for my heart and soul. And this is the Lowlands, or the Low World, however you call it. This is or was the real start to Storm, and yeah, same thing as with the other book. And since Don Lawrence was on the top of his game, here we have him. And the writer for most of the Storm stories, Martin Lodewijk. Since he was at the top of his game right from the start, it doesn't hurt to have the first actual Storm album in this format neither. I mean, look at the stuff here. This is just pulp science fiction at its best. Yeah, it's hard to show you this. My arms are really stretched out to the limit to show you all these pages. So, these books here are actually, even though they are dwarfed a bit by these huge Storm books, they are, of course, European album-sized formatted books, these tomes. Out of this series of special editions from Splitter celebrating their 10th anniversary. Now we are through this anniversary, but they're continuing to put out these books, fortunately. Comparing Indigo with Storm actually doesn't make too much sense, but I will do it anyway. Since the central character constellation is a bit similar, we have three characters in the center. One of them, the title-giving hero. Here it's Indigo. He is, of course, much more anti-hero than our guy Storm, who is a true blue hero. And we have his female tough sidekick, Skilla, who is as well put into the story, of course, for the male gaze, because her body is pretty voluptuous, and we have another voluptuous body, but in a bad sense. This is Yellow Sam, who is much more for the funny moments in the story, the funny sidekick, if you will. So this is really, yeah, no way around it, more trash from the 90s, but very enjoyable in this regard. Yeah, coming from Germany, it's really is a beast of its own and a unique thing. This guy here is Robert Feldhoff, who died much too young, and as you can see, this is what he looked like way back in the 90s. He had written lots of Perry Rhodan stories, maybe the most important contribution from Germany to the world of sci-fi. Not all of Perry Rhodan, of course, but lots of it, seemingly. And so he worked together with Dirk Schulz, who is nowadays the co-CEO of this publishing company, little publishing company called Splitter. So actually no wonder that they picked this series Indigo for one of their anniversary editions here. So yeah, you can see already how how the setup here for Skiller is and Indigo. This book here collects Indigo in its entirety. It's a true baby of the 90s, as you can see here with the depiction of these two here and these huge splash panels and all these effects. Even though this was redrawn and re-inked and recolored by Dirk Schulz for a later publication. This the first version was a lot rougher. But still you have sometimes a bit of these problems. Where do these characters here belong in the bigger scenery? But these are just minor problems and a huge fun ride that you enjoy here. Again, where are these in this nice scenery? But it's really, it gives you the mood, the atmosphere that you have to, and all stuff that you need to know to really be drowned in this fantastic sci-fi world. I danced a lot around these Indigo books because the style and especially the way the characters are drawn is not my cup of tea 100%. But then it just needed a nudge to get this book here. Der Referent, you know who I'm speaking about. And and I really enjoyed this book, and it's hard to circumvent these way of presenting the story. And there's lots of bonus material. Yeah, the last story here is bluntly called Sex, and you can see our trio. They are enjoying their life in different fashions. Our Indigo guy worked then in a future bordello, and we have even some kaiju like action in the back of it. Lots of fun, fantastic book, and a pretty dope bonus collection with the creation process of the series, and pencil drawings, inks, how it was colored. And this is really one of these incidents where I think that the computer coloring makes sense. A pretty surprising choice, at least for me, to present the series in this luxurious format was the Aquanauts by these two creators here, Vincent Mallier and Joël Parnot. I have never heard of the series before, and to be honest with you, neither of these creators, even though I had heard of and even read Auf der Suche nach dem Vogel der Zeit over here. And this was a really fantastic series, fantasy comic here. But this was, at least in my memory, and memory serves right, created by Serge Letendre and Régis Loisel, who is famous for Peter Pan, for this series Peter Pan. And a fantastic fantasy comic series. So yeah, maybe Vincent Mallier has contributed some sort of continuation to the saga. I don't know, had slipped my radar totally. So this series here is very interesting in terms of the setup, to me at least. It takes place for the most part in this down beneath the surface of the ocean. We don't really know in which ocean the story takes place, but it's Earth, a future Earth. in which scientists do their researches, but we have, they're looking for ores as well. And then the military slash espionage steps in, and this creates lots of tension and conflict. But we have very well prepared scenery in terms, especially here, this is a drawing for this subnautical station there. And then a murder takes place, and a series of murders. And so it's a crime scene taking place in this claustrophobic world. The way the characters are drawn is, more this serviceable art, more kind of this generic cartooning that you know from other artists as well. But it's pretty neat when they go underwater. It's clearly shown with these black borders here, and even the characters are drawn with lots more blacks and hatching, so this adds clearly up to this claustrophobic atmosphere down below. The story is, when you read the stuff here, it's really gripping and exciting. If you will, it's like a more realistic drawn version of dept.h by kindt. So if you liked the setup and the story of dept.h, maybe the Aquanauts is something for you. So this was the stuff that I want to show you right now today. 3 times European sci-fi, from classic to fairly new stuff. Thanks for listening and watching. Goodbye.